Come on in, guys. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about Survivor's weirdest jury speeches. Last week I covered the weirdest jury questions, but because there was so much weirdness going on with these juries, I decided to split things up into two videos. For jurors, the jury speech is the last chance to make their voice heard on the season. Most use the opportunity to ask a question to inform their decision, but some take the stage to make a speech to sway other jurors, say something specific to one of the finalists, or just babble into the ether. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of ether babbling in this video. With all the delightful weirdos Survivor's cast over the years, some of the jury speeches have gotten very bizarre. So let's count them down. By the way, I'm not going to be including any of the grandstanding jury speeches meant to sway jurors one way or another. You know the type. Unless your name is Suhawk or Eric Cardona, stop doing this. All that said, let's dig into 5 of the weirdest jury speeches in Survivor history. At number 5 is Tarzan's tear-jerking speech in Survivor One World. Tarzan was definitely an attempt to recapture some of that coach magic. They've stopped doing this in recent years because, let's be honest, they peaked with Debbie. But for like 6 years, every other season would have some larger-than-life kook with delusions of grandeur. That was the recipe. We got bald coach, hippie coach, female coach, cult leader coach. The gang's all here. Some were very coach, some were less coach, but he was the template, and Tarzan fits right in as old coach. I mean, a handlebar-mustached plastic surgeon with a vocabulary so robust and obscure that it sounded like a faux-cabulary. I'm all in. One thing that Tarzan has that Coach doesn't, though, is a sincerely beautiful family visit. Whereas Coach brought his assistant coach, Tarzan brought his wife Terry and drops to one knee just in anticipation of seeing her. I find myself in a similar position to all the other players left in the game, finding this to be genuinely touching. So profound, in fact, that it almost makes me forget the previous 30-odd days of increasingly obnoxious Tarzaniness.
Okay, it's not poop, it's dirt, I swear.
Look, man, if you gotta say it's not poop, it's poop. At Final Tribal Council, I think we all sort of expected some sort of weird, verbose speech when he stepped up. And the speech was weird and verbose, but also surprisingly heartfelt.
I want to inculcate within the Ingrams of my brain how I felt when I knew my wife was actually placing footprints upon the sands of this island and would soon be close enough to me that I can embrace her. That would not have happened if you'd not kept me. So for that, I'm very appreciative.
Someone cutting onions in here? There's not much to say about this, really. I just find Tarzan's love of his wife genuinely incredibly touching, even if he uses a bunch of borderline made-up sounding words to describe that love. Seriously, get yourself a partner who looks at you the way Tarzan looks at his wife, or cat's underwear. At number 4 is Ozzy's lovelorn speech in Survivor Micronesia. In Micronesia, Ozzy and Amanda hit it off at Favorite Beach in a big way, like a big way. They teamed up with Parvati and James, and for the first half of the game, the Couples Alliance plus Fifth Wheel Cirie were basically running the show. And Ozzy had to be the odds-on favorite to win it all. God-tier challenge beast, showman, immunity idol, previously came one vote away from winning against really stiff competition. Ozzy was the man to beat. At the swap, though, Parvati picked up some new friends, Natalie and Alexis, and decided to move forward in the game with an all-women's alliance, so she and Cirie pulled off an Ozzy blindside at Final 9, with razor-thin margins, even leaving Amanda out of the plans. Now, Ozzy was a little salty about all this, and at Final Tribal, Ozzy gets revenge, basically, accusing Parvati of being a bad role model for kids, destroying their friendship for money, but most importantly, she robbed him of 2 weeks with the love of his life.
Honestly, the hardest part for me was the fact that you took away 14 days that I could have spent with Amanda. I honestly feel like I started to fall in love with you.
Yeah, it's true. Parvati yanked the rug out from beneath Ozzy and Amanda. How could this have happened? They started out like Romeo and Juliet, but instead it ended in tragedy. I don't know how someone could be so heartless and then look so dismissive and unconvinced when being called out. I mean, you'd think she doubts his sincerity or something. Just take a look at the way they cuddle and look at each other. It's true love. Oh wait, wrong footage. That's Alexis. Sorry, just look at the way they cuddle and look at each other. It's true love. At number 3 is Rudy's brief speech in Survivor Borneo. In Borneo, Rudy made it to the final 3 alongside Rich and Kelly, one endurance challenge away from $1 million. This final challenge is a test of willpower and endurance, standing on a stump with one hand on an idol, rotating position occasionally, and trying not to get too distracted by Jeff's 5 o'clock shadow. What's going on there, Jeff? Late night at the fake bar you guys made? After 2.5 hours, Rich strategically steps down, leaving just Rudy and Kelly to battle it out. During a routine switching of positions at the 4-hour mark, Rudy lifts his hands off the idol, and that's that. Jeff doesn't even call it. Kelly has to point it out, and Rich has to back her up. Jeff clearly thinks he's about to be out of a job if Rudy doesn't win this whole game, so I don't blame him for just pretending he didn't see that. Kelly, of course, votes Rudy off, the producer's favorite, America's favorite, and the jury's favorite, all due to his momentary lapse in judgment. Rudy's obviously frustrated with himself, but never one to prattle on, he keeps things brief the next day when he brings it up at Final Tribal Council.
I don't have nothing to say to these two. I just like to let everybody here know how dumb I feel after the mistake I made yesterday. Okay?
Well, yeah. Good talk. At number 2 is Courtney's forgiving speech in Survivor Exile Island. Courtney was a crucial member of Kasaya, the single most dysfunctional tribe of all time. Crucial not because she was particularly strategic, or critical to challenge wins, or even well-liked, but because by Final 6, every person in the game was hoping to take her to the end for an easy win. Courtney seems almost blissfully unaware that her whole free-spirited vibe is getting on her fellow castaways' nerves. I'm pretty sure every single member of Kasaya gets an entire scene, or at the very least a confessional, about how much Courtney annoys them.
She's probably one of the 2 or 3 most annoying people probably in the history of the world.
But none sums up her entire essence better than Bruce's. In episode 5, Bruce is attending his first tribal council and is building what he describes as a Zen rock garden to help clear his mind and calm his nerves. Not so mind clearing or nerve calming is that Courtney chooses this exact spot to do yoga, forcing an annoyed Bruce to work around her, even though she has like a whole beach around her to do yoga. In all fairness, Bruce, describing anything as Zen is just catnip to the free spirits of the world. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is she's the ideal Final 2 opponent. Cirie recognizes that everyone locking in Courtney for Final 2 means one less spot for her at Final 2, so she recruits Aris and Danielle to help take Courtney out. Well, Cirie didn't make Final 2, but Aris and Danielle did, and Courtney came into Final Tribal Council hoping to forgive Aris and Danielle and be unburdened from her frustrations over this betrayal.
I'm holding no chip on my shoulder, because chips on your shoulder of regret and anger weigh you down, and I'm a bird, so I gotta fly.
Wait, they voted you biggest poser in the Touchy Subjects Challenge? No way. Courtney does end up asking a question about what they learned about themselves, but it's this bizarro speech that precedes it that makes it one of the greatest jury moments ever. Courtney may have dropped the chips off her own shoulder, but even from the jury, she remains one on everyone else's. I mean, like, literally. I was there, we were all there, for the weirdest jury speech in Survivor history, Zoe's in Survivor Marquesas. Zoe is Survivor's original weirdo. Before Coach and the parade of Coach clones, before Courtney, there was just a sultry fishing boat captain from Maine with a work hard, play hard attitude. I've talked about Zoe an undoubtedly inordinate amount of time on this channel when compared to her relative impact on Survivor, which is 0. But it's only because she's such an enigma. She's like a Grand Theft Auto NPC. She has like one line she always repeats. You could remove her from the game entirely and nothing would change at all, except you lose just a little bit of that magic. She was Survivor's first truly under-edited player, receiving just 5 confessionals across 9 episodes, 2 of which were in her boot episode. But that then unprecedented invisibility served to further the Zoe mystique for those paying attention. We always got just enough of a teaser of her weirdness to leave us wanting a little bit more. For one, she's always flirting with the camera, from her first moments on screen to her very last. She even turns eating candy into a steamy affair. What are you, the me underwears guy from The Room? Her entire game strategy was also wild. A member of the Row to 4, the second that Alliance is on the ropes, she throws her old BFF Tammy under the bus and tells her she never liked her because of her eyes, then kisses up to the new Majority Alliance so hard and so transparently that they decide to vote her out later that very episode. I really don't think that the viewing audience was ready for the weirdness of Zoe's jury speech, especially since most of them had probably already forgotten who she was.
I'm not going to talk about lies and deception, because I was there too. We all were there. You made it to the spot that all of us wanted to be at.
Wow, you'd think, given her glazed over look and pregnant pauses, that she was recounting surviving some traumatic event like a natural disaster or a nuclear bomb. Not a game where flying kites and walking on stilts were million-dollar challenges. Throughout it all, Zoe clearly thinks that she will be one of the main heroes of the story. That couldn't be more apparent in her vote for Nalia, which she clearly thinks will be the final winning vote read for her when the winner's announced, which it is not. Just think, in some vault at CBS, there exists hundreds of hours of footage of Zoe doing Zoe things. Forget the Snyder cut, forget the Russell Free Samoa cut, give me the Zoe cut of Survivor Marquesas, you cowards. Got nothing else for ya. To help me make more work hard, play hard content, like and subscribe and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.